AP student, right?
Oh, that's true. Well, she's taking dual enrollment as well.
Oh, well, that'll be great. Yeah, because Aiden went into college with like 37 credits.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he was technically a second year student, and it worked out really well for us because we didn't have to pay for the meal plan while he was in the dorm.
Oh, nice.
Which was like an extra $8,000. That wouldn't have been covered by his scholarships. So, and he wouldn't have eaten it anyways. Because this, I will tell you, the stuff they give you in the cafeteria when you're touring a school is not the same stuff that the kids are getting when they're.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out when Lila gets in there.
Like, they put their best stuff forward. And the kids learn. I don't know how big you can let people in.
I did. It's open.
Oh, okay. So I don't know how it's here, let me put my mask back on. I was just drinking my coffee and enjoying life. So I don't know how big Lila's school is.
It's reasonably large.
But like Aiden's has multiple dining halls, and the kids figured out like which was the best dining hall to go to, and it was not the one that was by Aiden's dorm. The one by Aiden's dorm was like not as good as the other ones.
Boo.
Yep. So it's just whatever. So you might be in the same situation where you don't have to get Anastasia the meal plan, though you probably would get her the meal plan. She's not as picky as Aiden.
No. It also depends on what apartment she gets. Like Lila has an actual kitchen, like a real kitchen.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah,
like those are hard to get.
Like she's in like in a full apartment with 2 bathrooms. So
I guess it depends on the school too, because like those apartments are really hard to come by at USF. But I think Ray had a similar bathroom at FCGU.
Yeah, it's 2 bedrooms. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a full kitchen. So it's like woo.
having your own bathroom as a college kid, it's amazing. When Aiden got his own bathroom, and he only got the room with the private bathroom because he became one of the mentors for the whole dorm.
Oh yeah, like a floor warden type thing.
Yeah, like he wasn't the RA, but he was a mentor for the medical students. So he got a room with a bathroom, and it didn't have a kitchen, but it had a bathroom.
Nice.
And he was thrilled. Because he said that the bathrooms that they had to share were so gross.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I know that they were gross because, like, I would go into the girls' bathroom when I was there, and I was like, ugh.
And you know the boys' bathroom was just grosser.
Yeah, you know the bathroom for the boys was worse. But I do recommend getting Lila toilet paper from Costco.
Yeah, one of the other girls is bringing the toilet paper. Like they divvied up all the stuff they're bringing.
Oh, I love that.
What's up, Kathleen?
Okay, let me turn on Substack so I can see our people.
Hello, peoples.
Now he's in his own apartment, so I don't have to actually do anything. He purchases most of his stuff. I just bring.
Claudia figures they're gonna move into an apartment next year, like off campus. It's like, I guess if they have the money.
Yeah, exactly that. Like Aiden's apartment, his financial aid pays for his apartment. So.
Oh, nice.
Except for this year, he has to pay $3,000 towards his thing, but he has a job, so he's just saving the money.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do about getting jobs.
Because that was I told him, like, when he makes decisions that affect his finances that he could control, that he's responsible for paying for that stuff. So, like, for instance, he had a USF scholarship that paid the gap.
Right.
For his thing, but since he was taking the MCAT this summer, he decided not to take those easy classes that he would take over the summer. So then he didn't even ask me for his dorm money. He was just like paying it himself. Or his apartment money, which, you know, good for him.
He's so responsible.
He's almost 22 years old. You got to be an adult sometime. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta, you know, Aiden, you gotta do things sometimes, so he's pretty good. Let's see. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate Substack to find our... Oh, there we are.
Oh, Florida Woman Rants has joined. Hooray!
Trying to navigate Substack because I get an invite from you, so I accept it. And then it always takes me to my thing where it shows my subscriptions. And I'm like, that's not where I want to be, my guys.
All right. Give me a second here. That's ready. That's ready.
Oh. We're sorry about the noise, y'all, but the apartment above his is being worked on.
Yeah, if you can hear that, they are hammering away in the kitchen right above. Like the kitchen's behind me, and they're hammering away in the kitchen in the apartment above me. So that's what you get to listen to today. You're so lucky.
And as you can see behind me, that's the Florida sun.
Oh, the sunshine shade.
I bought... Ogre told me to buy a light for my laptop, which I did, but it was sent to my other house where my brother lives, so...
Yeah, I'll figure it out eventually. All right.
So next week, but you'll be able to see my shining face. You're welcome.
So shiny. All right.
Moisturized as fuck.
Shall we get started?
I guess.
All right. La 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 la.
Hold on, I have an itch.
Are you done itching?
Yeah.
Okay, then that sounds like a good time to start. This is the Opinionated Ogre Podcast, your weekly rampage through current events with a little snark, a bit of foul language, and a lot of strong opinions. There are new episodes every Thursday, and they're not safe for work or polite company of any kind whatsoever. I am your podcast host, the Opinionated Ogre, and this is my co-host, Florida Woman. Hello, Florida Woman.
Good morning, everybody.
So I have to know, are you good and properly terrified of the dreaded communist revolution, communism that's taking over the Democratic Party?
If it means that potholes are going to get fixed in my streets and maybe there won't be food deserts, I don't think so.
But communism.
Nah, you know.
You're not afraid of communism?
Always some kind of ism.
I know. Jesus Christ. It's just, I was talking to my stepmother-in-law, Deb's, sorry. Oops. Mrs. Ogre's stepmother. That's the non-Trumpy one. And she was talking about, well, I don't know about these Democratic Socialist people. And I was like, oh, Jesus, here we go. So we had a 20-minute conversation about that. And it was like, it's a whole thing, because one of them went on Fox News and talking about how they're going to get rid of the Supreme Court and they're going to get rid of the Senate. And I was like, I feel like that's not exactly how the conversation went. I have to go watch the interview, and I don't know who this person is. She's supposed to be one of like the national chairs. I'm like, yeah, but she's not a Democrat, so who cares what she has to say? You know, like, anyone can be a Democratic Socialist. It doesn't mean she gets to tell them what to do. Like, she's not in charge of Zoran Mamdani. You know, so
are we like, talking? Wait, she was talking about the person from New York.
Megan Romer, I think her name is.
You know.
Yeah, no, not that other one. That other one's like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, she's got some issues. But it's like, some of them are assholes. Some of them are not. A lot of them are not. So it's like, just, you know, but just they're gonna look for the craziest people and tell you, and
amplify them.
Right.
That's what they always do.
Right. And why are they doing that? Because That's the point. That is the entire point of it. So it was like maybe.
Sorry, I had to turn off my camera for a second because it's so hot here that it's like making me gag.
It's like maybe not, rely on the word of Fox News and who
well,
they
that's
interview.
Right, and that's also how AOC got so powerful her first year. And I love AOC, but when she was a first year freshman congressman, she didn't have that much power, or congresswoman, she didn't have that much power. But listening to Fox News, you would have thought that she was Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, they just kept screaming. Oh my God, she's the face of the entire Democratic Party. It's like, well, she's not, but she was smart enough to capitalize on it and did something good with it. It was like, well, good for you.
Brilliant.
All right. This is the recording for July 30th, 2026, and we have a lot to get to on episode 107 of the Pod. We ready to do this?
Yes.
Woo! Then let's get to it. It's time for the Ogre Nation News Update.
Roar. So once upon a time, the Republican Party was really, really, really mad at President Obama for weaponizing the IRS.
I remember all of that.
They claimed the 44th president ordered the agency to target conservative organizations for increased scrutiny. After many hearings and lots of screaming in the press, the Treasury Department's Inspector General during Trump's first term released a report that revealed the Obama IRS used both Democratic and Republican-related keywords to target political organizations on both sides of the aisle for further scrutiny, because he didn't think that, political groups should be breaking the tax law. So scary. Then there was the whole Russian scandal. After years of investigations, including a special counsel ordered by President Trump 1.0 and carried out by Robert Mueller, evidence showed the allegation that the Obama admin led a political witch hunt turned out to be a big old lie as well.
No.
So obviously, when we learned this week that the Trump regime is targeting states that voted for Kamala Harris, we weren't surprised at all. After all, as we always say, every Republican accusation is a confession.
Every single time.
And actually, there was a real confession this time in a July 15th filing in a class action lawsuit that was challenging the Trump regime's cuts to clean energy projects. So you might recall, but last year, Trump's Department of Energy sent a list of 624 grants to the Office of Management and Budget, which is headed by, what is his name?
Russell Vought.
Russell Vought, one of the writers of the Project 2025 blueprint for destroying our fucking country.
He is a true piece of shit.
True piece of shit. So they sent a list of 624 grants to that guy and recommended that they be canceled because they were for recipients in states where Kamala Harris won in 2024. Almost 300 of those grants were later terminated. So in the July filing, the Department of Energy said it, quote, accepts that the inclusion of grants in the October notice tranche was based solely on the political identity of the grant recipient state, i.e., whether the recipient's location and or place of performance was in a blue state or a non-blue state.
That's just amazing. I just love it. They just say it out loud because why not? Who cares? Who's going to do something about it?
Right. They always say the quiet part out loud. So Jeff Novak, the agency's principal... Hold on one second, guys. Okay. Jeff Novak, the agency's principal deputy general counsel, verified that with one exception, quote, the 284 terminated grants had a recipient location and or at least one place of performance in a state that awarded its electoral votes to Kamala Harris in the 2024 election and has 2 Democratic caucusing senators. Now, we would like you to take note of the silence from the media about this. Sure, it was on their websites, but there was no wall-to-wall coverage of it on cable news network like there was the IRS scandal.
Yep, that
And
went on for months.
I mean, Dr. Fauci is testifying today about COVID. Right now, as we speak, he's in the Senate testifying.
It's been 5
Right?
fucking years.
Yes. And every time I open up my phone, guess what I see? Dr. Fauci testifying in the Senate. And in fact, I would wager that Obama's tan suit received more coverage than Trump weaponizing the government against blue states. Instead of focusing on the actual weaponization, the main story over the weekend was about Trump's sad performance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which I don't know about you, but I didn't even know that it was happening again.
Yeah, I didn't know it happened until after it was done.
Until after there was wall-to-wall coverage about it.
Yeah.
Not the weaponization of the US government against blue states. Not the federal government attacking states.
It's like openly declaring economic warfare on half of the country.
Right. It was about Donald Trump's speech at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Like, guess what, guys? That guy talks all the time. We don't give a fuck. As Marshawn Lynch once said, that motherfucker says a lot of shit. So, you know who else is being super, super quiet? Ogre's favorite free speech crusaders, Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald.
Wait, you mean the greatest crusaders against anti-government corruption in all of American history?
Yeah, not a peep.
Oh, wow. That's so weird.
Now, in an ordinary political climate, this would be the main story for weeks. We wouldn't be able to escape this story. It would be on every single news screen. It would be in the newspapers, but not in this
front page. Yep.
Yeah.
Would be constant.
Yeah, but not in this America. In this America, attacking Democrats for nothing burgers is way more profitable than calling out the actual weaponization of the federal government. As we always say, Republicans are not held to a lower standard. They are held to no standard at all.
It's unfucking believable with these people.
I got through that really well, huh?
You did.
I know. See, I'm getting better. You're welcome.
Now, as we enter the 6th month, 6 fucking months of Trump's 2-week war, which is illegal, unnecessary, unwanted, and it's still going 5 months and 2 weeks after we fucking lost it. We were on our 3rd or 4th or 10th pause in the hostilities, but that ended yesterday when Iran launched a bunch of missiles at American forces, and we responded. Now, I had a joke about not knowing how many ceasefires and pauses that we've had, but it was like a whole little bit I had, but it kind of seems pointless at the moment. So I'll save it for the 5th or 6th or maybe 7th ceasefire or pause, which will come in the next week or so, because who fucking knows?
I saw a joke that said, nobody's ever won as many wars as Donald Trump. How many times has he beaten Iran? Like 40, 50 times now?
Yeah, I think Hunter Biden made a joke about that. It's like he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. He's ended the war with Iran more than anyone else, more wars with Iran than anyone has ever had in all of history.
That's exactly what it was. That's who said it.
Now, on our side, we wanted to stop bombing, at least partially, because it's still not working, right? We've been at this for months, and it's not working at all. Missiles and bombs are not enough to break the Iranian government. A full ground invasion might, but that would cost trillions of dollars, cost thousands, and I mean thousands of American troops their lives, and it would take years. Like, we're talking way longer than we were in Iraq and Afghanistan. But maybe if we were looking at another 2 years of bombing them incessantly nonstop, the Iranian government might give in. But they're not looking at that. They've made it clear they're waiting for Democrats to win in November. And because they know that Democrats are going to apply maximum pressure on Trump to stop his illegal war. Now, you may think to yourself, I'm sure people on the right are going to say, well, that sounds like Iran's using the war to influence our elections. I would like to remind those people that both Russia and Israel did the same thing in 2024 to put Trump back into power, so all of those people can go fuck themselves. Now, a larger part of the war is that we literally no longer have the weapons to sustain an active campaign. The regime's blaming this on Biden, but we weren't sending these kinds of long-range weapons to Ukraine, and we weren't using them in any real capacity during Biden's time in office. Trump, however, recklessly spent our long-range missiles like water in the first several weeks of his 2-week war. The idea was so much shock and awe, hitting 13,000 targets in rapid succession, that the Iranian government was supposed to collapse. But that didn't fucking work because it was never going to work. They've been preparing for this exact type of war for 50 plus years. So we blew our wad, and now we can either keep lobbing missiles and deplete our stock or maintain what we have in case war breaks out somewhere else in this newly belligerent global disorder that Trump has created. Now, Trump really, really wants to break Iran because he doesn't understand the meaning of the word no, which is why he's raped so many women. Allegedly. And he can't be seen to be a loser, right? Because he's a strong man, and strong man can't, he can't, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee even his most bloodthirsty generals, and Lindsey Graham, who's dead now, boo-hoo, but they're telling him how risky it is to go all in on a single war and blow all of our missile stock when there's countries like China waiting to do whatever they want to do, knowing that we no longer have the capacity to step in and get in their way. So we're going to see. On that note, Trump and Netanyahu met for the first time since the war started a couple of days ago, and Netanyahu was the dick who talked Trump into starting the war in the first place. So did Trump abuse the shit out of him for lying and pressure, and now he's trying to pressure Israel to back down?
Don't be silly.
I don't know. Did Netanyahu convince the dying senior citizen with advanced dementia to escalate the war? We don't know. No details have been released. The meeting was called positive and productive, but that's all we know. And this is where I remind you that this is supposed to be the most transparent government ever. Yep, totally true.
Isn't it interesting how the other presidents before him would provide readouts from these meetings?
Yeah,
in most cases.
Have them semi in public or have it cameras, but nothing, right? We don't get to know anything that they're saying to each other because Trump's incoherent and he doesn't want to seem like a fucking drooling idiot in front of everybody else.
Right.
Now, way back in March on episode 89, we talked about how Russia was supplying Iran with satellite imagery because it was supposed to be this huge scandal. Well, that's back in the news again because Ukraine has definitive proof of it. But again, this is not a scandal in and of itself. This is what we talked about back in March. Russia and Iran have been military allies pretty much my entire life. Like, this is going back to the 70s. Of course, they're going to provide Iran with tactical aid. That's not the question here. The real scandal is that Donald Trump continues to lick Putin's boots while Putin is directly helping get American troops killed. That's the problem. But here's the question. How much longer is Trump going to be able to keep licking those Russian jackboots? Dead Americans are extremely unpopular with Americans. I know, it's so fucking weird. And knowing Russia's directly responsible for getting them killed is going to make Russia really, really unpopular with the America crowd, right? Even the ones who lap up tons and tons of Kremlin propaganda. So what's going to happen there? Especially since Russian money doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. This is something we're going to discuss later in headlines. Trump doesn't like to be associated with losers, and this war, like Russia's losing their war, and our war is dragging Trump down. How much more negative attention can he take? Speaking of negative attention, one last bit of vileness from this fucking disgusting trash heap of regime. Last week, we talked about how the Pentagon was hiding the number of wounded from the public and lying about it when caught. They managed to make it worse. They escalated in the most disgusting way possible. They started to fudge the number of service members killed. They reduced it from 18 to 14. And the lie behind this was that the ceasefire was in place, so it didn't count. Their families would beg to differ. And after being caught, like no one was going to notice this, and the public screaming bloody murder about it, the Pentagon changed the number back to 18. But then they dropped it back down to 14 because the four most recent deaths were overseas actions instead of having something to do with Trump's illegal idiot war. And it's hard to describe just how fucking repulsive this is. The idea that they're playing semantics with the dead just to protect Trump's ego is about as offensive as it gets. Like we talked about last week, when there's a sane person who doesn't shit in the diaper and they're president in 2029, everyone involved in this has to be fired. The military has to be purged of all the people who bent the knee to this moral rot. They cannot be kept in positions. It cannot be. They had a choice and they chose wrong, which means they are no longer worthy to wear the fucking uniform and represent this country. They can just all fuck off into the sun. And that is it for them. All right. Whew. Let us move on to our favorite segment of the entire thing. Everyone loves this. I scream, you scream, we all scream because of fucking ice.
I shouldn't laugh, but I always do every time. So, a few days after ICE agents murdered Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston, the Department of Homeland Security attempted to smear the father of three. The federal government released information about the FBI seeking a search warrant to seize plastic bags that contained crystal-like substances on the dashboard of his van. And they released pictures of the crystal-like substance too, and it didn't look like crystal meth, but, whatever.
Shocking.
Predictably, it was nonsense. On Friday, the office of Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier revealed the tests on the substances in Araujo's van were negative for narcotics. Further, the DA notified the victim's family because they felt it was the right thing to do.
Ooh, fucking ICE must be so fucking mad about that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised they're not trying to arrest people for interfering with a federal investigation. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, David Donati, an ACLU lawyer representing the victim's family, told the media that the Trump regime was, quote, more interested in creating a false narrative than seeking the truth. He went on to say, quote, the search has now proven that the Salgado family, what the Salgado family has said all along. Lorenzo was a hardworking man who made homes for Houston families.
Now, you said there's pictures?
There are. And the family said that the substance was like an electrolyte, a homemade electrolyte thing. It was lemon with salt, which makes sense because I don't know if any of you have been to Houston. I have. It's very, very hot. It's just like Florida. So when you're working on houses, you're sweating a lot. And one of the problems when you're sweating a lot is that you're losing the salt, your electrolytes. And if you lose too much salt, even if you're drinking water, you're going to be dehydrated. So they would make their own homemade electrolyte solution so that they wouldn't become dehydrated.
So basically, I wrote in the notes that if it turns out to be sugar or salt packets or something so obviously not drug, and it turns out it literally was sugar and salt.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Okay. That's really fucking impressive. So, which means these guys knew they were not looking at fucking crystal meth. I have not had a lot of experience with hard drugs. I don't know what crystal meth looks like. I've only watched Breaking Bad. Don't know how accurate it is. I feel like if I was in law enforcement, though, I would be able to tell the difference between sugar and salt and fucking meth. I feel like I would have some idea that there was a difference. But let's say I'm still really bad at my job. I still feel like I would probably test it before I opened my fucking mouth about it. And they knew this guy probably didn't have bags of fucking crystal meth sitting on his dashboard, but they had to say it anyway. So when all this is done, and again, we have real fucking people in office and we have real fucking serious people running our fucking law enforcement again, everyone involved has to be removed and brought up on fraud charges. Examples have to be fucking made that we will no longer tolerate this kind of bullshit from law enforcement. No more sprinkle crack on the dead guy and hope no one looks too closely. None of this shit. That's gotta fucking end. It's Nuremberg them all.
Nuremberg them all.
Nuremberg them all. Now, Juan Jairo Coronilla Duran was killed the same week as Araujo, and he was in a vehicle that was surrounded by ICE agents in St. Augustine, Florida. Terrified of the masked armed agents surrounding the vehicle that he was in, the 28-year-old tried to run, and he was struck by a semi-truck, and he died.
Right. And remember, we told you that the semi-truck driver got out of his vehicle and performed aid on the victim.
Right. While the ICE agents just stood there and were like, yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah.
Now, we're now learning that the deceased victim was not an undocumented immigrant who was fleeing ICE agents like the DHS narrative would have you believe. Instead, he was a visitor to the U.S. on a valid tourist visa. Coronillo Duran had traveled to Atlanta from Mexico to visit his family. He stayed in Georgia for 3 weeks. Then he went to visit. He went to Florida to visit the beaches because Florida has nice beaches, even though the rest of the state's a hellhole. Sorry, you live there, but you know this. St. Augustine is the oldest town in the United States, and it's a hotspot for tourists. Instead of visiting the beaches and historic buildings, this guy died in the middle of a busy street. But why did he run if he was here legally and hasn't broken any laws? He should have obeyed the officers and he should have complied. Why did he act like a criminal? Blah 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 blah. Because ICE doesn't give a fuck. They don't fucking care. Stephen Miller's Gestapo does not obey the law. They don't respect civil rights or human rights. It's a white nationalist death squad whose mandate is to terrorize brown people. They hunt, kidnap, and disappear anyone they want. And the people they do not disappear, they either beat to a pulp or kill, and then they lie about being attacked because they know for a fact they will never face fucking accountability. Everyone knows this. We see it on the news every single day. The entire world sees it. They know we have roaming mass death squads like any number of third world shitholes. That are being run by scared little men clinging to power. In what universe would Coronilla Duran not run from literal bloodthirsty Nazis? Why would he ever trust them not to kill him or disappear him into a concentration camp to collect a bounty or illegally dump him in another country where he would be tortured for money? The only sane response is to run or stand your ground against unidentified masked men and open fire because who knows who they really are. Now, am I advocating for shooting federal officers? No. I'm advocating for the people to use the twisted Second Amendment rights and the laws that Republicans have forced the rest of us to live with. May you and yours be the victims of the policies and don't come fucking crying to me about it, you little putas.
Anyway. Let me just say that, so yesterday my husband came home and he was kind of irritated, right? And he was like, hey, I need you to check the car insurance because we had accidentally put it for the wrong bank account when we bought it because we bought new insurance because our old insurance was too expensive. He's like, I need you to make sure that it's coming out of the right account because I don't want to get pulled over and murdered by fucking ICE. And I was like, yikes. Okay, babe, let me go do it. But like that is the reality of living in this country right now or visiting this country as an immigrant.
Yep. You're taking your life in your hands just by being here because they're fucking murdering death squads. They're racist murdering death squads. And
I mean,
that's their function.
I talked about it before. My husband literally got life insurance because he's concerned about dying in the middle of the street.
All right. Before we move on to the next section, if you would like to throw us a small tip, the QR codes for both PayPal and Venmo are up on the screen here and there. We have no sponsors or advertisers and probably never will, so we appreciate anything you can send our way. Thank you. All right. It is now time for headlines for short attention spans.
So Secretary Whaleblood claimed he wanted to make America healthy. But it should come as no surprise that we couldn't take the dude who swims in feces and snorts cocaine off of toilet seats seriously. Last week, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, announced that there have been 2,301 announced there have been 2,318 recorded cases of measles this year. The recorded part is important because we know that there are pockets of people who don't report illnesses to the local health officials or even bother to get tested, like the Amish, for example.
And there's also people who don't even realize they have measles. Like if they have a mild case,
absolutely,
they don't know. Because I mean, not for nothing, measles is not. Well, it wasn't like it hasn't been a common disease in this country in decades. Most people don't recognize it when they have it. Like, why would they?
I know. I keep thinking about the scene from ER, 30 years ago, where Noah Wiley's character was like, "Is that measles? No, that can't be measles. It's been eradicated." and now on The Pit, it's like they did a whole episode where it was like, oh no, a measles case. Like it was just normal.
Jesus Christ.
So anyway, the new number exceeds the 2,200 cases that we saw last year. That means the last 2 years of measles cases are more than what we saw from the years 2000 to 2024 combined.
That's fucking impressive. That's fucking impressive.
Over
2 decades worth of disease, not having disease, just wiped out.
Yeah.
Thanks,
now,
Republicans.
Obviously, the reduced vaccination rates are the reason for the skyrocketing cases, like all of those crunchy moms who, don't give their kids vaccines but take breast milk from each other on the internet without getting it tested.
That's so nasty.
But RFK Jr. has done nothing but fearmonger about vaccines, which is not helping, especially with his HHS secretary. And it's unlikely that he's going to do a single thing to reverse course, which means that more kids are going to get sick and die. He hasn't started any ad campaigns or public health campaigns like you would normally see with an outbreak of this type. And remember, we previously mentioned a case where a child died like 9 years after he contracted the measles from an always fatal complication. So we likely won't know the full ramifications of this regime's policies on public health for a decade or more. Of course, we have said all along that this regime's health policies are eugenics in action. So none of this is particularly surprising. Unfortunately, it's playing out exactly as we predicted.
And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast. I probably have, but it's been a while. I wrote back in 2000. It was either it was 2017, I think, long before COVID popped up, that when people were starting to ask about Barron Trump being autistic, that we needed to not talk about that.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
Yep. And the reason I said do not talk about this is because if we forced Donald Trump to admit that his son was autistic, he would never admit that it was like, because of genetics, something like that. he would blame it on vaccines. And my fear, and I was very explicit about this, is that if he blamed it on vaccines, it would give a huge boost to the anti-vaxxer movement. And if the right picked up the anti-vaxxer torch, because they hadn't done that at the time, back in 2017, anti-vaxxerism was mostly a left wing, like a crunchy granola mom thing, right? Those were
that was when crunchy granola moms were on our side.
Yeah, that was the crunchy granola moms on the left that hadn't penetrated into the right yet. I mean, there was a little bit of it, but not much. And I was very, very explicit about this. If the right picks up anti-vaxxerism, they will realize exactly how potent a weapon it is. And they will go all in on it. And when COVID came around and they started talking about, the COVID vaccine, I was very, very explicit. They're not going to stop at the COVID vaccine. They're going to generalize it to all vaccines because it's really, really potent. And not for nothing, Republicans are a fucking death cult. If they can get people sick and dying, they will do it at every opportunity. And I'm surprised it hadn't occurred to them decades ago to go all in on anti-vaxxerism. But here we are in 2026, and it's exactly what I was afraid of. It's exactly what I saw coming a decade ago. And no one believed me. No one thought this would happen because what the fuck do I know, right? I'm just some schmuck on the internet writing articles. I'm like, do you not understand who these fucking people are? If their leaders tell them vaccines are bad, they will stop taking vaccines and they will let their children die because they don't care. Because they'll do it just to own the libs. Like we've told you stories about parents who lost one of their children and then said it was God's will and I'm not going to vaccinate my other children. But really what they're saying is they're doing it to own the libs because the libs say, the liberal elite say vaccines are good, therefore I will not vaccinate my children. And if they all die, that's God's will. It's God's will.
It's so weird.
All right, let us move on. Hey, you may have noticed gas prices are on the rise again. I don't know why. Oh, wait, yes, I do. We're back at war with Iran, and the Strait of Hormuz is closed again. So naturally, the affordability president has decided that the way to lower prices for the American people is by making trade easier. Just kidding. I was, measles was roasting my brain. Instead of making life more affordable, the dipshit squatting in the White House decided to start his trade war again. Woo! We mentioned last week that Trump was threatening 50% tariffs on Canada because something, forest fires, can't control the wind, blah, blah, blah. I shit my diapers. A few days later, Trump said he was going to issue substantial tariffs against the European Union because he's angry that they fined Google $1 billion for ignoring the Digital Markets Act because Google just thinks it can do whatever it wants, like all tech companies. These tariffs are going to cause inflation and increase everything right before the midterms. It's a nightmare scenario for the GOP because they're already dealing with the ramifications of an unpopular war in Iran, dead American service members, increased healthcare costs, gas prices, and so on and so on and so on. Mark Short, Mike Pence's former chief of staff, said, quote, "This is going to be punishing for Republicans politically." And he's right. A YouGov poll found that 46% of respondents says Trump tariffs policies have increased prices a lot, and 26% said it's increased prices a little. So that's 72% of respondents who have admitted that Trump has made their lives more expensive. And we still haven't gotten to all the really nasty stuff yet. I know we keep talking about this, but man, when it hits, you're going to be like, oh, that's what they've been talking about.
And we hope it doesn't hit.
I mean, it'd be great if I would love to be wrong, right? I mean, like, I would love for the American economy to be robust enough that it doesn't explode and we don't end up looking at a great recession to make the last one look like a cakewalk. Great, wonderful. Trump's still going to lose. The Republicans are still going to lose, but millions of people wouldn't get tossed out of their jobs and lose their homes. Awesome. That would be great. I would be the first to be like, fuck yes, I was wrong. Booyah. But I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Anyway, while Trump is busy fucking up the midterms for the Republicans, he's also taking aim at the 2028 election and helping us win it. He's I don't know what the fuck he's doing, actually. He's announced that there will be 100% tariff on generic drugs imported from overseas beginning in the summer of 2028, meaning that he's going to cause drug prices to skyrocket right before Americans head to the polls to elect the next president, who will not be J.D. Vance, and it will not be Marco Rubio. So I have no idea what's going through that corroded, syphilitic, riddled mind of his, but sure, go for it. Have fun.
Do your thing, man. Well, we saw this coming a mile away. Last week, Texas GOP Senator John Cornyn, one of the senators that Trump pushed out of office, or as we like to say, a member of the YOLO caucus, decided he was going to get his lick back. Now, remember, we talked about the possibility of these lawmakers using what little power they have left to mess with Trump, and it seems that's exactly what he did. Cornyn told Semaphore that he intended to hold up the nominations of Carrie Lake for ambassador of Jamaica and Doug Mastriano as the ambassador of Slovakia, unless the regime passed or released the money that was earmarked for the President's Emergency Plan for Aid Relief, PEPFAR. That's the program to battle AIDS across the globe. It was wildly popular when it was implemented by George W. Bush and has received bipartisan support over the last 2 decades, except for from Trump 2.0.
And just real quick here. George W. Bush, absolute fucking monster. But some part of his brain really deeply understood that preventing the spread of disease overseas meant not having to deal with it here.
Exactly.
He was actually, as bad as he was on so many other things, that was one of the things he was actually like, yeah, blah, 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 Republican this, Republican that. But if we keep that from happening, if we keep it from happening there, that means we don't have to, like, he was good about that. He was good about that with Ebola and just general diseases in general. He put effort and money into keeping diseases from spreading in other countries because he understood the concept that viruses do not care about borders.
He was like, we'll stop the diseases. We're going to still bomb those motherfuckers, though.
Yeah, it's so weird how, because, I mean, he was an idiot, and yet somehow Republicans managed to get even stupider since then. The Republican Party just keeps getting dumber with each iteration, which makes me really, really worried about how fucking stupid they're going to be in 10 years. Like, we're going to be a full-scale idiocracy.
I think we're already there. So Trump heeded Cornyn's warning and released the funding. I suppose that Cornyn deserves a little bit of credit for this, but really he had no problem hurting people for years in the name of the Republican Party, so fuck him. And to be clear, this was $270 million to save literally millions of lives, including millions of children. And the regime cried big, sobby tears about how we can't afford it, while demanding over $70 billion to fight an illegal war that nobody wants on top of an already $1.5 trillion $1.5 trillion military budget that nobody needs. So.
Right. But we can't afford to feed kids. We can't afford to help senior citizens. We can't afford to save millions of lives overseas. But man, we need that $1.5 trillion for the military.
Also, he's about to renovate. Sorry, guys. He's about to renovate the golf course in DC that the public uses. And I heard that he might even try to cut down the cherry trees, which would be really bad.
Anastasia asked me about that. I haven't found anything to substantiate that.
No, I read a whole article about it 2 weeks ago. like from a major news organization.
Okay, so that's a real thing. You'll have to send me a link for that, because she asked me about that like a month ago, and I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Dun, 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 dun.
I think it's because he wants to redo the golf course, so people are concerned that he might cut down the cherry trees. Because he wants to make like a national championship level golf course.
Oh, so he wants to make it not public anymore.
Yeah, I'm not really sure like how that's gonna work.
All right, let us move on. We have a very important question that we really need an answer for. Is Mitch McConnell sucking Satan's dick in hell? The real one, not Donald Trump. Is he still alive and plotting how to dismantle our democracy? It's hard to tell. What we do know is that the world famous Supreme Court seat thief fell 6 weeks ago, and he has not been seen in public since. His team won't allow anyone to visit him in hospital, although he has released 2 proof of life pictures that are extremely unconvincing, because his hair's the wrong color. He looks healthier than he did 3 months ago. It's like, that's not generally how people who are suffering from a severe injury in a hospital, you don't generally look better.
Can I also just say, if you have to release proof of life pictures, like maybe that's just a problem in and of itself.
Yeah. It's been suggested repeatedly that he's suffering some kind of aphasia, where like he can't speak properly because he had a stroke or something happened to him. Because if he was actually fine, he would have released the video. He would have had someone put a camera in front of him and say, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just recuperating. I'm still having trouble with walking or blah, 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 but I'm still fine. I'm still cognitively here. If he was cognitively competent, they would have released the video by now, just to stop the speculation. And they haven't, which tells you there's something wrong with him.
Right. And I mean, even if he had a stroke, it's not like we haven't been through that before. Fetterman, we all rallied behind him so he could be like, hey, I had a stroke, I'm recovering.
Yeah, but he's 84 years old. You generally don't recover that much from a stroke.
The fact that they're not releasing a video is really disturbing.
Now, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has repeatedly demanded to speak to the senator, and they won't let him. Again, that tells you something. All they need to have is one Democrat walk in the room and say, hey, how you doing, Mitch? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, yeah, you good? Food's good? You're comfortable? You're recovering? Yeah, just have a 5-minute conversation and walk back out and say, yeah, no, he can talk. He's fine. He's frail. He's old, but he's 84. What do you want? That's half of our Congress, blah, blah, blah. But they will not allow it. They will not allow it. Now, he was supposed to, attend a fancy farm event. It's a political event. It's very popular in Kentucky. He's been to it for the last 40 years, but he's not going this time. And we're a little sad about that, because we were really hoping for a weekend at Bernie's thing where they were just kind of moving his body around for him. What are you going to do? This whole thing is absolute bullshit. Now, I'm of 2 minds of this. Now, originally, I was thinking they should just call a special election, and because they can and have voted in statewide Democrats, right? Their governor is a Democrat. On the other hand, they haven't had a Democratic senator since before I was alive. So, or I think so. I don't know. It's been decades. So maybe not. But at this point, with Mitch McConnell out of the picture, that's just one less vote that Republicans have in the Senate. And hi, Bob. Look at that puppy. And they're already struggling to get stuff passed as it is. If Mitch McConnell is going to be out of commission for the next 4, 5, 6 months because he can't speak, and they don't want to say that, he's incompetent or he's physically incapacitated or mentally incapacitated, great, fine. He'll just be a blank seat that Republicans cannot use. because you can't vote and not be there. They made that very specific. He can't vote in absentia. So now they're down to 52 votes. Oh, well.
Crazy.
Womp womp.
So Trump has a real hard-on for the Smithsonian because he, like all little fascists, thinks it's really important to hide as much of the country's history as possible. And after Republicans did his bidding and lost their collective shits over hats that said Latina power written on them, the Tin Pot dictator in the White House signed an executive order requiring the government to place new signage outside of the National Museum of American History. The executive order states that the signs, quote, shall notify visitors that the museum exhibits should be renovated consistent with the findings in a July report from the regime. The report claimed the museum focused too much on injustices that happened in America and not enough on its triumphs.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Some of the displays that the regime takes issue with is a paper mache Statue of Liberty carrying a basket of tomatoes, and her arm is raised with a tomato in it, like the Statue of Liberty's torch. And that's in a section of the museum that celebrates immigrants. They're also super, super angry about the mentions of white supremacy and slavery. Now, why would they get mad about that?
I don't know. That's just so weird.
The signs will also direct visitors of where to go get their Trump-washed American history. And I'd just like to add that if you haven't been to the Smithsonian's American History Museum, I highly, highly recommend visiting it. My husband and I went there in 2023. I've talked about this before. I was supposed to go to the Holocaust Museum, but I couldn't find the parking lot for the Holocaust Museum, so I gave up and just parked in front of there and picked a museum to go to. And we spent hours looking at the exhibits. And not only does it have American history, it has this whole room that has all of the campaigns and like the buttons and like slogans, and there's TVs of like the debates playing. It also has a really cool section that has like American film and music history, and it includes like Prince's guitar, Selena stuff. Just like, it's really, really cool. You can spend hours there. I highly recommend going.
You haven't been to the African American Museum yet, right?
I have not. I've been to, every time I go, I try, because I'm not there for that long. So I try to hit one museum, and you know how it is. Like, it takes hours to go through them.
Yeah, that one is brutal. It's really good, but man, it's distressing. The bottom floor is super distressing.
Well, the first time I went to DC was right when that opened. So you couldn't get tickets to it at all.
Oh, yeah, no, it was impossible to get in for like the first year.
Yeah, and then when I went back, it was when I was sick. So I literally just parked and went into whatever I could find. But I will say that there's another museum in Baltimore, and I was going to drive to it one time when I was in DC, and it's also an African American history museum. And my friend Derek, you remember Derek, he met with us when we were there. We had Starbucks together.
Yes.
The African American guy.
Yes.
You don't remember?
No.
He only remembers me.
And your little feral child.
And he's met so many people in my life at this point. My mom, my Jennifer, my husband. All of the important people almost. So anyways, when I was there last time, when I was there one of the times, he was like, oh yeah, you should go to Baltimore because it's only like 2 hours away, and go see the African American Museum there. He said that the basement includes all of these relics of slavery, that includes like the torture devices that they used.
Oh, they did that in Baltimore too?
Yes. So is that what's in the African American Museum?
Yep. The entire bottom 2 floors. Well, it's one floor, but it's just really large.
They have an older museum in Baltimore that has that.
All right. Let us move on. This is our future under climate change that doesn't exist, remember. In the last 10 to 15 years, most of us should be familiar with the term heat dome. If you're a little fuzzy on the details, what happens is a high pressure system locks into place over an area and traps hot air underneath it. The heat literally bakes the ground so much that clouds cannot form, so the dome prevents rain and shade from cooling anything off. It's like a fucking magnifying glass, and it just builds on itself. It just keeps pumping heat in, heat, and it reaches dangerous levels of heat and humidity. And fun, it also traps pollution like exhaust and, yes, smoke from wildfires. So the air quality will degrade if the dome lasts long enough or happens to form in the path of a smoke cloud, like the ones that we've been getting from Canada. Isn't that fun? Heat domes have become increasingly common, even as the climate hasn't changed in the slightest, according to Republicans. It's weird, though, because the Midwest, where lots of Republicans live, keeps getting hit the hardest. From the Gulf Coast to the Great Plains, right now, millions of Republicans are being subjected to 100 plus degrees weather, as a third heat dome just in July is sending temperatures through the fucking roof. But this is what they voted for. And it sucks that so many innocent people are trapped in their man-made hell with them. But we offer every Republican gasping for breath the liberals' prayer. May you and yours be the victims of your ideology.
That makes so much sense, because remember I walked outside this morning and I came back in and I told you that I was really hot, or did I tell you that?
No.
Oh, and then I was trying to get comfortable again, and I was like so hot. You guys can probably see a fan behind me. I'm like, it's so hot outside, and it's so fucking humid.
I don't know if you guys are stuck with the heat dome, but man, it is hitting a huge chunk of the country again.
Well, it's the thing is like our temperatures aren't super high. Like right now it's 85 because it's been raining a lot, so probably not. But it is just it's so humid outside. It's very disgusting.
Yeah, no, if you have rain, you do not have a heat dome.
10 do not recommend. I will and because you live in the South too, nobody can convince me that our summers are not getting hotter.
Oh, they obviously are.
I mean, it is so fucking hot.
Every year they talk about, well, I mean, not so far, not here anyway, but so like every year they talk about the new records are being broken. It's like, well, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. So
no, it's so bad. Well, on to our LOL of the week. Russia's paid propaganda stooges are jumping ship. Remember Laura Loomer, the one rumored to be a very special friend of Donald Trump? Well, she was also a very special friend to Russia, constantly spewing Kremlin talking points, so much so that she might as well have been reading them verbatim in the original Russian. Anyways, that was then, this is now. Russia, you see, is not doing too well these days.
Aww.
They're losing the war they started with Ukraine, the one that they were supposed to win in a week. And their economy is imploding because Ukraine has been systematically targeting and crippling their oil and commercial infrastructure.
Womp womp.
I guess the checks have stopped coming in because Loomer and a bunch of other far-right influencers have suddenly discovered that Russia was the bad guy all along. Shocking. Can you even invade a country anymore without being called the bad guy?
Only if you're America.
That's true. Which is another way of saying that if you don't pay your puppets, they switch to the side that's winning and drop you like one of Trump's crusty diapers. You're such a nerd.
Yes, I am.
And then on to some good news for the week. The courts continue to block Trump's efforts to rat fuck the midterms, the ones that he's really trying to fuck up with his inflation and rising gas prices. Nonetheless, on Saturday, a 3-judge panel on the First Circuit Court of Appeals rejected the regime's request to lift an injunction from a lower court that prohibited them from tightening the rules for mail-in voting in 23 states. The lower court found parts of Trump's executive order to implement the new rules were unconstitutional. Now, the DOJ argued that the Democratic-led lawsuit against the EO was premature because the regime hadn't yet finalized policies to implement the new rules. But the judges rejected that argument, writing, quote, as the district court reasoned, the executive order lays out a clear set of rapidly approaching deadlines by which states must coordinate with federal officials and comply with new voting procedures, all while the states must also ensure that their officials and the public understand the evolving set of rules that would govern the upcoming September and November elections. The plaintiff states have no practical choice but to respond to the order now. In other words, nah.
And they're trying to run to the Supreme Court to have them overturn it and just force states to do what the federal government says. But I don't know. I don't know if there's 5 votes on even the Supreme Court to just. I mean, I know they'll ignore the Constitution for a lot of stuff, but just to say, oh yeah, no, the federal government can now control, state-controlled elections. That's really tricky for them, because once they say yes, the federal government has control over state elections, they're going to have to turn around later and say, well, actually, we only meant Republican federal government, because if the Democrats get into power again, they have control over state elections, and Republicans cannot afford that ever under any circumstances. So I don't know. I don't think the Supreme Court's going to do this.
Also, don't they have to like appeal to the full First Circuit Court of Appeals before they can go to the Supreme Court? Isn't that how it works?
Well, yeah, but the Supreme Court's been short-circuiting that constantly. The Republicans will just skip all of that and be like, well, we need to get this done right now in order to help the regime, so we're just going to skip all over that.
Well, that is not ideal.
All right, so here's some other good news. A fun story about Pete Kegger Hegseth shooting himself in the dick, his tiny steroid shrunken dick.
We love that for him.
If you recall, Hegseth and his master, Donald Trump, fired the military's trans service members because something, we can't afford to pay for their medical care with our $1.5 trillion budget. Hormone replacement therapy was just out of the question. But you will also recall that last week we mentioned good old Petey's genius plan to pump up the troops with testosterone. And another name for that is hormone replacement therapy. Now,
oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, neither did I until someone mentioned it. I was just like, God damn. Now, Judge Ana Reyes, who is presiding over the lawsuit that several trans service members have brought against the military, has ordered the Department of Defense to explain the difference between hormone replacement therapy for delusional Fox News swilling morons and hormone replacement therapy for trans men. No doubt that conversation is going to go amazingly well. So good luck, Petey, you dumb fuck.
That is so smart. I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's why we're not judges.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, on to self-care of the week.
All right. So this weekend, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will have 2 rooms at the Marriott in DC for the entire weekend for Otakon 2026. One room is for the girls. It's going to be Lila, June, Anastasia, and Lillian. So they're going to be there. And the other room, and here's the fun part, is for me, my donor son, Kyle, and one of his baby mamas.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's fun. I knew Kyle was coming, but I didn't know that one of his moms was coming.
Yep. Maria. She's flying.
I was going to ask. Is it our little short friend?
Yes, it is. I'm flying them up from Florida for Kyle's 13th birthday, and he has never been to a convention. So I am super excited to take him to the largest one in the DMV area. That's DC, Maryland, Virginia. And we're going to be in cosplay. So like on Saturday, me, Anastasia, and Kyle are all going to be characters from Gravity Falls. Like I'm Grunkle Stan. Thank you very much. And they're going to be the two sibling characters, which is great because they're siblings. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a ton of fun, and We're going to be doing all the stuff that Kyle wants to do. Like, I'm going to be running around with Kyle and Maria for the entire time, doing whatever Kyle wants to do. And Anastasia will meet up with us every now and then, and we'll do some other stuff. And we'll meet up with Lila and June every now and then. We'll do some other stuff. And it's going to be awesome. And this is the first year that Lila is 18. So she gets to come with me and do some of the 18 plus stuff that they have at night. Like after 10 o'clock, they start running 18 plus panels and like just different things that she's never been able to go to before. And I was able to go last year because we had a hotel. It wasn't in the convention center, but it was next to it. So since we were there and the girls could go back to their rooms, I was able to stay late and do some of the 18 plus stuff, which is fucking hilarious. And this year, since we again have hotel rooms, I get to do that again, and she gets to come with me. So we're gonna like one of the panels we're gonna go through is titties through time in Japanese anime, which is gonna be really fucking funny. So we're all looking forward to some of the really silliest stuff that we get to do. But during the daytime, I'll be with Kyle. And his head's going to explode. It's going to be amazing.
It's crazy that Kyle is 13.
Yep. That means we've been down here for 13 years.
That means that we've known each other for a really long time.
A really, really long time.
Like a really long time. Like probably coming up, like maybe like almost 20 years.
Yep. You went from being a stalker to being a podcast co-host. Wait, you went from being a stalker to being an employee to being my boss to being a podcast co-host.
Weird how life works.
Yeah.
So anyway, I celebrated my 23rd wedding anniversary this week.
Yay!
My husband and I got married in 2003 when I was just 18 years old because I was a big girl who knew everything. It's been quite a journey. But 2 kids later, who are 14 years apart. I don't know why we didn't just have them together. I don't know why.
Womp womp.
But 2 kids later, he's really I think that we love each other more now than we did back then. Certainly than in our 20s, because we were a hot mess in our fucking 20s.
The less said about that, the better.
But he is truly the only person that I like to spend extended periods of time with, even when I'm bickering with him. He's also my favorite travel buddy. Like a lot of people want to go out of town with like their friends, like their girlfriends. Girls trips are huge things, but I really only like to travel with my husband. We just have more fun together. And also he gives the best foot rubs. So I don't know. I'll probably keep him for at least 23 more years.
Aww. Tee-hee. You'll have to play this for him later so he can just roll his eyes.
Listen, 2 years, I'm having a party. When we hit 25 years, it's going to be a party, buddy.
Woo!
You'll have to come down here.
Well, hopefully you won't be living in Florida at that point. We can get to you easier.
God, hopefully it'll be New York.
We were looking at how much it's going to cost to fly down there to go visit my father. Like the cheapest we could find was $1,300 for the 4 of us.
Oh, all 4 of you are coming.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It was like, Jesus fucking
Why don't
Christ.
you just drive down?
Because it's a 17-hour drive and I'm the only one that can drive. So no.
Yeah, I guess.
We did that once and I was like, I'm not doing that again.
That's so funny because I drive up to you and I'm just like, YOLO. But I will say that after Alex got his green card and I didn't have to like drive all the time anymore, I'm such a good passenger princess.
Yeah, maybe a year from now, after Anastasia has her license and she's been on the highway a bunch of times, we can split it. But right now,
are you sure those are the cheapest tickets that you can find? Because we'll talk about this after the show.
Yep. All right. That's it for today's show. The Opinionated Ogre podcast, like the newsletter, is free and 100% supported by you, our amazing audience. We have no advertisers or sponsors yet and probably never. So please consider becoming a paid subscriber for just $5 a month or $50 a year. If you would prefer a one-time donation, We now have a PayPal, and we now have PayPal and Venmo buttons for your convenience, and you can scan them right there on the screen. Please help others join the Ogre Nation conversation by sharing the OgPod on the social media platform of your choice and giving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. There are just 95 days, 95, until the most important midterm elections in American history. And that time will fly by faster than you can possibly imagine. That time will fly by faster than you can possibly imagine. The regime is begging Republicans to rig the midterms for them because they are weak. And in November, we're going to show them just how fucking weak they are. Remember, you are not alone. Stay focused. We beat the fascists once, and we will fucking do it again. Adios.
Adios.
All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to post the podcast tomorrow, and then Otakon conventions. All right, we'll see you guys next week.